right, my amazing Latin scholars, we're going to cover a review of the synopses for peto in the third plural and for sum in the first singular. All right. Um, Hopefully you'll remember this. Please, make sure when you do these in the future, you always do them as you see it done here. The with the proper forms and with the proper all the spaces filled in. So let's look at this first one. Okay. The first thing we're going to be doing is looking at the box of the principal parts. It's very important to remember your translations for your principal parts, right? Because they will help you when translating the actual verb forms. So we see peto, petere, petivi, petitus. We know that peto is the first person singular and present indicative active, and that's simply I seek. Petere is the infinitive active, all right? And that is to seek. The present infinitive active, I should say. That is to seek. And then petivi is the perfect first person singular indicative active. First person singular indicative active, perfect tense. And that's I have sought or just I sought. If you have that, that's fine. Or I asked. And petitus is the perfect passive participle, and that's having been sought or having been asked for. So that's always your first step. Always fill in that first box. Now let's look at the present system. We're doing the third person plural indicative active here. We're doing the present system. So remember how we do that, right? We have some unusual things going on in the third conjugation. We see petunt with that mutation there in the third person plural. It should be petunt. Up to that point, remember you had peto, petis, petit, petimus, petitis. And now when we get to the third plural, you change that I to a U and you have petunt. The imperfect looks very similar to the second conjugation, where you lengthen that E in the stem, pete, and then add the ba, no macron because it's nt at the end, pete bant. And then you see petent, all right? Now look at the aspects, right? You'll see the aspects here. They seek, they are seeking. Remember, that is simple. That is continuous. They do seek is simple emphatic, and they always seek is habitual. And then we have the imperfect. So they were seeking, right? And that is the continuous form. They used to seek, which is habitual, and they kept on seeking, which is again continuous. They kept on seeking. And then, oops, let me go back there on that one. And then you see for the future, you see they will seek and they will be seeking. All right, so that would be the simple future and then the continuous future. All right, those are the aspects. Make sure you have all of those filled in and checked. Now we're going to go to the perfect system. Remember, we have the perfect, the pluperfect, and the future perfect. And for that one, if you go back to your section on the principal parts, you'll know we used the third principal part to find our stem. And the third principal part was petivi. We dropped the I, and that leaves us with P-E-T-I-V right there, P-E-T-I-V. And that's our stem throughout the perfect system. That is our stem. So we add that unique set of personal endings. For the third person plural perfect, we have I, isti, it, imus, istis, and then erunt right there. The pluperfect personal endings are like the imperfect of to be. So you have eram, eras, erat, eramos, eratis, and then here erant, the third plural. And then here we have the future perfect, and here we have the ERI as our stem, and we have the NT as our personal ending, peti verint. Now, we have fewer in terms of the aspects to learn here. We have the continuous, they have sought, the emphatic, simple emphatic, they did seek, and then the simple, they sought. All right, so they have sought is the preferred translation very often for the perfect. All right, and then you'll notice then we have for the pluperfect only one aspect, they had sought. That's absolutely in the past. And then you have they will have sought. Now we're going to go to the third plural subjunctive active. Let's take a look at that one. Now remember, here we have that stem vowel mutation. Instead of the P-E-T-E, we're going to have a mutation here, and it's going to go to A for all the forms of the present. So it would be petam, petas, petat, petamus, and then petant, right? And that's no macron because of the NT. Remember how to form the imperfect subjunctive? You take the second principal part, which is the infinitive right here, and then you add the personal endings on NT. And then for the perfect, you will note, if we go back, right, that it is the same form as the future perfect, right? Petiverint in the future perfect indicative and petiverint in the third person perfect subjunctive active. The third plural perfect subjunctive active is the same form. And then for the pluperfect subjunctive, we add the stem, petiri, the tense sign ise, and we have petivisent. And remember, because the subjunctive has so many different forms, there are no aspects to write, no translations to write. Now we're going to go on to our next synopsis, which is sum. Please make the corrections, add macrons where you notice they needed to be, and we will move on. And there is our four principal parts for sum. And sum, a lot of people mess this up on the test, but hopefully you'll understand it now, right? The first translation is the present indicative active, first person singular, so it's I am, because it's the form of to be. Esse is the present active infinitive, that is to be. Fui is the perfect active indicative, and that is I, first person. That's I have been or I was. You can do either one of those if you would like. And futurus is that interesting one of the future passive participle. It's just translated as going to be. All right. Now let's look at the first person singular present system. And there it is. Very simple, very straightforward. You see in the present we have sum. Right? It's an irregular verb. It doesn't necessarily follow a pattern. You see the one aspect, I am. Then eram, ERA, is basically your stem, and you add MST, mustisont onto those. And then that I was being. That is always the preferred form for the imperfect. I was being. And finally, for the future ero, and then I will be. Right? Please don't forget your macrons as you go through these. So that is the first person singular, present indicative, present imperfect and future indicative active. Now we go to the first person singular indicative, indicative active, but this one is in the perfect system. So remember, when we're in the perfect system, we're going to use the third principal part, fui. We're going to drop the I, but in this case, we're going to leave it there because we're doing the first person singular. Okay, so we see fui. All right, and then for the, and we have I have been or I was. Those are your two alternatives there. For the pluperfect, we have fueram. All right, so that's fu, that's the stem, and again, the imperfect of to be, eram, added to the end. So fueram is I had been. And then the future perfect, we have fuero. And that's I will have been. And fuero is the stem fu with ero, eris, erimus, eritis, and erit. All right. So those are your perfect system in the first person singular indicative active. Now we're going to go on to the first singular subjunctive active. First person singular subjunctive. So let's see how that looks. Now remember, we have no aspects here. And there, so you have the present, and you have to remember this is the one that changes from sum to sim. And then that I stays there throughout that subjunctive. Sim, sis, sit, simu, siti, sint. There's some macrons in there, sis and sitis and simus, right? For the imperfect subjunctive, you do the second principal part, esse, just like you do with regular verbs. You use the infinitive, and the infinitive in this case is esse, and add the personal endings, mst, musti, sunt. Oh, I'm sorry, that should have been sm. I made a mistake there, guys. I'm glad I caught it. Your form should be essem. Your form should be essem. And then for the perfect, it is fuerim. And the pluperfect is fuisem. I'm sorry, I think I had the third person plural in my head when I said that one and did that one. So it's sim, sm, essem, and then fuerim. All right? So make sure you make that correction. I want to thank you for listening. And we will see you for the next synopses. Thank you so much.